Good morning. My name is Miss Dottie. I'm a visiting teller of tales, and I'm going to read you a book that I have had for a long time, and I've read to every one of my grandchildren. It's called A Pocketful of Kisses. And I know you're going to find the pictures on each page of this book are beautiful, and also the story is very sweet. So let's start it. It's written by Audrey Penn. It's illustrated by Barbara Gibson, and it is published by Scholastic Incorporated, and that was in year 2004, if that shows you how old this book is. Now, this is a book about two raccoons and their mother. We have the bigger raccoon. His name is Chester, and then his little brother is named Ronnie. I think a lot of you who have a younger brother or sister are going to identify somewhat with what happens in this book. Now look at these pages. Aren't they gorgeous? Oh, I love the colors. It makes me feel like I'm out in the forest with the raccoons. Okay, Chester Raccoon sat in the hollow of a tree stump and he pouted. Oh my goodness. Do you ever pout? I do sometimes. Not as bad as I used to when I was younger, but pouting is part of growing up. Okay. Chester says, "Please, can we give him back?" "Oh," he asked his mother, I'll be really, really good if we can give him back." Have you ever thought that about your little baby brother or sister, that you would like to give them back? Okay. Now look at it. Another beautiful picture. Mrs. Raccoon smiled and she said, "You are already really, really good, Chester, but I'm afraid no matter how good you are, we can't give him back. Besides, I thought you liked having a little brother." And I'm sure those of you that have brothers and sisters younger than you, you were very excited when they first joined your family. But listen to Chester, what he says. He says, "I did like it at first, but now he plays with my toys. And he swings on my swing." You see him back there? Uh-oh. "And he reads my books. Then he pulls my tail. Oh, and he talks to my friends, and he follows me everywhere I go." Now, I'm sure you all have experienced that too. Okay, Mrs. Raccoon lifted Chester onto her lap. There's a rabbit. Oh, that rabbit looks almost real. And Mrs. Raccoon smoothed out his worry, furry forehead. In a very motherly tone, she says, "But that's what little brothers do. It's no different than sharing the woods or sharing the river or sharing the food we find. Ronnie wants to be just like you." So remember that. Your little brother or sister may want to be just like you. So set a good example. Mrs. Raccoon placed Chester on the ground and smiled at him with the soft, loving eyes he knew so well. "I think someone needs a kissing hand," she said in a voice that was warm and inviting. She took Chester's hand in her own, and she spread open his tiny fingers, just like that. And it looked like a fan. Leaning over, she kissed him right in the middle of his palm. Chester felt the warmth of that kiss rush from his hands, up his arm, and into his heart. And when he pressed his hand to his cheek, he could hear his mother's words in his head. "Mommy loves you." They said, "Mommy loves you." Chester grinned so wide. The tips of his silky black mask around his eyes crinkled upward. Even his cheeks flushed. Look, they turned a little pink. Okay. He was the happiest raccoon in the forest. Uh-oh. Then, in the blink of a moment, all the joy went out of the little raccoon. His pink cheeks paled, and tiny hot tears fell like rain down his sad little face. Even his silky black mask drooped as he watched his mother reach down, take Ronnie's hand in her own, open his tiny fingers into a fan, and kiss his brother's hand right in the middle of his palm. Uh-oh. That was my kissing hand, Chester cried in the saddest voice his mother had ever heard. Why did you give Ronnie my kissing hand? Don't you love me anymore? Uh-oh. Chester is very upset. Oh, look at this beautiful picture. Here's the deer, and it looks almost like it's right here. Oh, Chester, cried Mrs. Raccoon, of course I love you. Then how come you gave my baby brother my kissing hand? Asked Chester. Mrs. Raccoon gathered Chester up in her arms and gave him a great, big, comforting hug. I would never give Ronnie your kissing hand, she told him gently. That was his kissing hand. Now each of you have your own. Chester hugged his mother and he romped away. I love you too, he seemed to say, and he climbed a tree. Look at all the hearts up here. I think that is the sweetest book and the most beautiful pages in a book that I've seen in a long time. And it's called A Pocket Full of Kisses. Thank you. I hope you all will continue to read, and see you next time. Bye-bye.